In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this Wizarding World or Halloween themed basket. Where to begin? Plan for today's project. So you may have watched some of the random weave videos that I've done in the past, but today is going to be slightly different. Firstly, I'm going to try something like this. I don't know what I'm making yet, haven't even figured it out, but in essence, I want to try something that's got a handle like this. This was my first attempt at making a random weave thing with a handle that doesn't move around. Also, instead of using buff willow, I want to use willow that I have foraged from the Welsh wilderness surrounding me. For example, like I've used in the past for this backpack project. That was made out of this stuff and everything else that's behind me, which is willow that I've gathered around kind of winter time, between kind of November and March, when all the leaves have dropped off and you've left with those lovely straight stalks and you can harvest everything that you need. But I also have, because hopefully, I'm not sure yet when this video is going to come out, but hopefully it's going to come out just in time for Halloween. So I thought, what can I do to make this just seem a little bit more creepy, a little bit more magical maybe? And that I will get to later on. Where should we start? So I've got these different bundles. They've been soaking now for about 2 days. You can see how thin this stuff is here. And let's do a quick test. Do the wrist test. Goes around the wrist, absolutely fine. And even better, especially with this really thin stuff, does it go around the finger? No snapping, no kinking, goes around the finger, absolutely fine. That means we're good to go. So first of all, I'm going to grab myself a small bundle of these, say 10, 15. And this method, I saw this once in a German book, and I don't speak German, so I'm not sure what the term they use to describe this method. I'm going to call it the drop method. Can you guess why? And if it doesn't go through the table, that's how we begin. When I did this on the backpack, I did this on the floor, but today we're going to attempt to do it on the table. And then what you want to do is, if you can, put some pressure on here, and then you're going for what is sort of the bottom stick. So for me, I think that's kind of, this one here, maybe this one here, and then you're just weaving it in to get it tied in there amongst as many as possible, as quick as possible. Because if it's loose and you're just kind of going over one and under one and leaving it and moving to the next one, everything's loose. And this is where you're kind of using that random and that up and down motion going in between all these different other willow rods. That's what's kind of holding everything in place. Now that I've done that first one, I just want to show everyone, just so you kind of got a rough idea of what I mean. So this first piece, and you can see it's going over, under, under, but over this one, under, over, under. So it goes over and under as many times as I can. And already, with one piece of willow stuck in, there's a few of these that are holding together. So if I just pick one of them up, it's picking a whole bundle up. So like I mentioned, my goals for today are putting the handle in and making something a bit more kind of Halloween-y, a bit creepy. So the actual shape and styling and what this basket is going to be used for, I personally don't care. It's got to be done in a day as well. So therefore, it's also got to be something that's probably about half the size, if not even less than this one. Random weave, I love it because it's so organic. It can just grow and change into these different shapes. But from experience, having a rough overall size in mind is something that is really key, because if you've seen the random weave sculpture video that I did, and it's very easy to just kind of let things grow and grow and grow, and then you end up with your kind of frame, and then it's hard to put everything back in again and make it all smaller. So because at the moment I'm doing what will end up being the base, at this stage I am roughly thinking about what's the size of the base of my basket. So probably something about this. So how I've put that first piece in and it's you know, roughly this kind of size. It's not going to be a massive basket, and because I'm putting the handle in, it might need to either come out, or I'm going to have to go up higher to create the space for you to put a hand in or something. Therefore, it's probably going to be taller. So I don't want necessarily a really wide basket, but for your project, totally up to you, totally up to you. So for now though, I'm just going to continue weaving until I'm ready to start moving into the sides. Now, I've made a mistake already. I got carried away and I wasn't holding it down. So what's happened is it's still just come apart. So I'm telling you, but really I'm telling me, because already I feel a bit like, what? Come on, hurry up. Why is it not going quick? And it's why I make projects like this, is because I find it hard sometimes to just chill and just work the material and let it take as long as it takes. So take time, make sure you're putting pressure on here. Don't worry if things come out. Don't worry if things kink, and just try your best, Jason, to enjoy the process. There we are. What I have found is that this stuff, which is foraged willow from around us, like I said, rather than buff, which is farmed willow, that is a lot better for not kinking. But I'm thinking with this being a little rustic, I think that's okay. I think I'm going to go with it. Maybe I will change my mind on that. And don't worry if there are things that you're like, oh, I hate that kink. I love how it's curving here, but I hate just that bit there. Don't worry. You can always go back, take bits out and kind of fix them. This, for now, is just trying to kind of get you to get that structure and start to build the shape that you want. After having a look, I think I've got a rough shape that I like. So I don't know if you can see that on this camera. This here. So I think that is the rough base shape. For now, what I'm going to start doing is adding these in, these pieces here, that come out and bend round, and then they're going to be bent up like this. Someone's come to visit us. Whoa, what? You can come in and say goodbye. Yes, you're going to be on the channel now. You're going to be recorded. Hello, hello, hello. Oh no, she's giving me a butt. Bye. Bye. Where was I? So yes, so now I've got the rough shape of the base, and then these pieces, I'm just going to start adding these on bit at a time, and that's what I then start bending up the sides with. The way that I'm going to be weaving this in is getting the thick end first, getting to probably just after halfway, and because it's the, because it's the stronger side, you know, the thicker side, it's therefore easier to kind of poke through and pull through because it's that bit stronger, and it can kind of hold and anchor everything in place when you're doing the more fiddly bits at the end. So I wanted to bring you a little closer so that hopefully you can see this and I can explain a bit more how I'm doing this process. So you can see I'm starting with something that ends up looking a bit like a flower, especially because my base is circular. So I want to have enough of those that I can then use another piece to tie it in. And the way that I do that is by anchoring it in some way, putting in the thick end first and anchoring it, and then going in between all these side bits, which is why you need a lot of these petals, let's call them, and then you pull them together and it kind of brings everything in and tightens everything up. Alongside that, you can just bend it and twist it and use your knee and just use your fingers and thumbs and just kind of, don't be afraid of this structure. The whole point is this is a natural material, it's hard wearing, it's going to last you a long time. Feel free to kind of bash it around and make it into the shape that you want. the starting of a shape of a basket. I think, to be honest, I'm not far off getting to the top. Again, I wasn't necessarily aiming to. Normally, I would build the basket like this, and then you add lots and lots more in, but you always are making sure that it's curved like this at the top. Partly for aesthetic purposes, partly just because that then means it's not abrasive. Just like with the backpack that I made, you've not got pieces at the end stuck out that jab into you when you put your hand in the basket. For this one, what I'm going to do now is continue with this, continue building up this side, continue pushing and pulling, and kind of if I need to like prod it. So for example, it comes out a bit at the bottom, so I'll push that in, maybe use my knee, push that in, there we are. And because it's nice and flexible still, there we are, look, nice and flat. Lovely. And then I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to put the handle in. So if I don't move the camera, the way that I did this one, don't know if you can see that, it's lower on one side than the other. So as I was building the basket up, like I'm going to be doing now, I'm thinking, okay, where's the access to the basket? Is it going to be from both sides? Is it going to be just from one side? And then also, what am I going to be making it from? And that's where I need to put the camera back to the main angle. I can't sit like this, I have to sit perched. I need to get a seat that's the right size. Okay, this is the stage that I need to choose my handle. Now, that's what all of this lot's for. This stuff is from Alicia's mum and dad's. So this is corkscrew willow, I believe it's called corkscrew willow or twisted willow. And it grows like this lovely, twisted, gnarled kind of, well, I mean, as a side note, I'm thinking I might make this into a project that's like a torch, because it's pretty much there. Fill it in, stick a light in the middle. Look at that as a torch. How cool would that be? So that one's not been used today. One of the things that I'm looking for is a shape. So this one is perfect because it arches, but if it's flat, that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be used. Also, I'm literally making this up as I'm going along. Okay. Montage of me picking what I'm actually going to use. Are you ready? Let's go for it. I think I got it. Now, the reason that I think this is, actually, hang on. I'm inspired by a basket that I actually saw yesterday that had a very similar makeup than this. What I'm thinking is, if I put this like this, kind of squish that in between the two, and then that can become a basket that, yes, you can hold it with this bit up here, but also can be put down and can be hung up and become part of the witch and wizarding themed room that hopefully I see this basket ending up in. The handle. Another thing I love about Random Weave is for something like this. Like I now want to squish and mold it into a new shape. That's fine, you can do that. I'm now gonna cut a couple of holes. And to do that, you could use a drill. That would be the easy way to do it. But I'm gonna do it using this. Using the auger, like I did on this one here, I'm gonna cut 2 holes. And like in this one hole, if you can see that from above, can you see that? One hole went down vertically through the handle and one went horizontally through the handle. So that's how I started. You can see there's a lot more extra that I've added, which is what I will do after this. But first of all, it's just a hole horizontally and vertically, and not meeting, because obviously you're about to stick a piece of willow through that, so they can't meet. And because it's not a handle like this, that I can go one that way and one that way, I'm probably gonna put a hole this way and this way through this handle here. So I ended up putting in 2 at the top here, where the highest point where I want the basket to go, and 2 at the bottom, partly because of the way this is to hopefully hold it in place and hold it in a bit stronger. Obviously that's slightly different. If you were doing a handle like this, then obviously it's only being held in at this place, whereas on this one today, I'm technically putting it in on the side, so therefore I can hold it in even stronger, which hopefully will be great considering this is going to be one that ideally is used to hang, so it then definitely needs to, I need to try and make sure that it can really hold that weight and then some in place. Okay, find a piece of willow that's about the right size. Like this, it won't go any more. Bearing in mind, it is going to shrink. Work the material a little bit first, and then going easy. See, I've already kinked there a little bit. Oh, and the light's gone off. Now, that could be finished. I could maybe build it up a little bit more at the front, because if it's hooked and there's stuff in it, then it's going to rock a little bit. I might build it up a little bit more here, but I might not necessarily do that with willow, because this is where the potential extra that makes this basket into a more Halloween themed basket. I've got all of this stuff. So this is all of the little twigs and little bits and pieces off of the end of the bigger pieces of the twisted willow. So all of these bits like this, these have been drying in Alicia's mum and dad's shed for best part of like 6 months, something like that. And then they've been soaking alongside the other stuff for about 2-3 days. I don't think it'd need to soak, especially like this kind of stuff. That wouldn't need to soak for 3 days. That'd probably be all right in maybe 1 day. But this kind of stuff here is definitely probably needs about 3 days. If you've seen one of my other videos, the sort of witch themed or wizard themed basket that I created, I finished that off with bits of root from, I think it was bramble, as well as spruce root. And they have these lovely gnarly twisty bits about them, and therefore it's great for using on a project like this where you want that kind of aesthetic. This isn't root, this is just off of the tree, and look at that. Just look at, you know, look at some of the shapes and gnarls and twists within that. Yeah, love it. So my plan is, if I kind of move some of this out of the way, get off. The bigger pieces haven't passed the twist test, whereas the smaller pieces, oh, okay. So that potentially means I've got a few things to be wary of with doing this, is that this can't bend more as much as the other types of willow. But my aim is that this almost just becomes, let's take that bit off now. This becomes almost like an accessory. So I want it to be on the top of, I don't want any of this really inside the basket. So other than just holding it in place when I go in the basket and back out again, I want the majority of it stuck outside. So my ideal end result is it's something like this. So some of these bigger pieces definitely can't go in. So what I've got to try and think is roughly position it where I want it, where I think it's going to work, and then bit at a time. So for example, this piece first, and then going to try and hold this in place while I weave this one in. This can be quite a loose weave, because all I'm doing is just weaving it enough that it holds itself onto the basket, as opposed to it becomes part of the structure of the basket. Uh-oh, not going well to begin with. Easy does it, easy does it. Yeah, see? Now that has gone in these 2 different places, and that just sits nicely as part of the border. And then hopefully that'll make it easy to put these two bits in now. So for now, I'm just going to continue adding the magic, adding all this lovely character. Oh, love it. Okay. We're back to my favourite part of this forest, which is one reason why I love so many different forests, because it's like escaping into a different world. And this part of this bit of forest, trodden really only by myself, gently, I'm trying to go with care, but I just love it. It's just, yeah, like being in the wizarding world. But you're here because you want to see the end result of the basket. I'm so happy with how the twisted willow came out and how it just adds an extra dimension and depth to the piece. I could just see this hanging up next to a witch's fireplace. I tried to still be kind of ergonomic, if that makes sense. So for example, there's pieces that stick out that you might catch your hand on, but I did those in bits that aren't necessarily in the way. So for example, here, you'd access from that point. So I'm still kind of thinking about it being actually useful as a basket, whether someone would use this just as a more ornamental piece or as a basket that they would take out in the woods and harvest mushrooms with. Totally up to them, totally up to the person that ends up with this basket. Because I'm thinking that I might start selling my baskets. So please comment down below if you'd be interested in buying something like this. Oh, legs going dead. But for today, that's it. So if you like this basket, you will love the other basket that I filmed in this area here, the Wizarding World themed basket that I made and I filled with all kind of wizardy goodness. That's a word, right? Anyway, if you like this video, you'll definitely like that. So therefore, I'll leave you with that one. And until next time, thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.